we have in the Gospel what is called in exegesis the ipsissima verba, the very words. There are occasions when the expression used in the language used are maintained. So we have here the root of kum, which is still in the Hebrew language and in the Arabic language for anything to do with getting up. And therefore there is also a vague echo of the getting up par excellence, which is the resurrection, which is precisely what is happening here in prefiguration. It happens in the case of the widow of Naim, when we have her son, her only son, being carried out for burial. And it happens also close to the Passion itself in the case of his friend Lazarus. And that is very dramatic, because he is already in the tomb, has to be let loose. Lazarus, come forth. So the power that only the inner circle is allowed to see, these three apostles, who will be with him in the garden and who are also with him on Mount Tabor, they alone will see this power at work at this point, together with the immediate family, the mother and father, it would seem. Power, then. We also notice that all the knowledge of the Lord comes into play. He knows that they are talking about him behind his back, making fun of him. The damsel is sleeping. Ha, ha. He knows always when that is going on. He hears the words the people are saying to each other. Therefore, the God that we have hears also our words and even our thoughts. And we sometimes underestimate the importance of our thoughts. They are heard. And sometimes thoughts can be more than just thoughts. It is not certain to what extent a thought actually can have power. When the soul is no longer dependent on the senses for its knowledge, in practice, 1 second after death, it knows things too. And those who have had near-death experience come back always with that the perception is more direct and actually more complete. But it's something also that can happen if it's sharpened. We can ask for that grace of a knowledge of things, an awareness of things, an intuition of things. In the cases of people like Eddie Stone's, it is of a charismatic order. Things sometimes are known immediately. We have the classic example of Padre Pio, Jean-Marie Vianney, Curé Vaz, and the saints of all the centuries who've had the gift. One time, Jean-Marie Vianney was asked, "How do you know that?" And he just answered simply, "Je l'ai su," I just knew it. So obviously it was a knowledge given just like that. But if one has to do sometimes with people who have this specific gift, the gift of knowledge it's called, then one does see that same miraculous power at work. And it is beyond human explanation if it's genuine. It cannot just be fabricated. Last night I was with a person who had had a surprise some years ago. At the time she was working as a chef in a large golf club in Meath, and Eddie was coming to town to some church in the area, and she was keen on going. And She therefore wanted to get away from the kitchen to be in time. So she was hoping that the work was coming to an end, but lo and behold, this last order came in. What's all this, I wonder? Oh, so it meant work. There were lemon meringue pies to be concocted at the last minute. So it wasn't a simple affair, but nevertheless, with great professional competence, she dispatched the requested supersonic lemon meringue pies and went off with herself with equal vitesse to the meeting. So, what happened? She got in and it was in full swing. And Eddie was praying over people in his Eddie Stone style. And as he was doing so, he could see things coming up. And that's the point, he could see things coming up. And he went something like this. And there's somebody there, yes, there's pancreatic cancer there, that's going to be healed, yes. There's somebody there with great emotional difficulty, yes, the Lord is healing that, my dear, yes, the Lord's going to be healed there. Somebody here, serious arthritis, yes, the Lord's going to lay his healing hand upon there, yes, yes. And here I see, we've got here coming up, lemon meringue pies. Possible with that one. At the end of the meeting, my friend went up to him and explained, well, look, Eddie, the lemon meringue pies, they were for me. Well, what's that all about? Well, he explained. Ah, he said, well, yeah, Alan, the Lord hasn't forgotten you. He's telling you that he knows all your problems. Huh? That's not something you can fabricate. It's a participation in the knowledge of God. Now, we can sharpen our own. Firstly, by being in a state of grace. Why? It gets rid of the clutter and gives an interior peace and makes the soul crystal clear, not muddy. Because the Lord can't do much until that's been sorted out. But then, there are other things too. And not just in spectacular events, but on a daily basis. It's to do with the mode of input rather than output. Now, look at the day. In a situation, one has the choice, usually, between the proportion of input and that of output. A talkative soul is not in a good place. He's always in output mode and is blocking out all the time input. Also, a person who can't bear the simplicity of the sound of silence is not in a good place, because his input possibility is not great. Why? It's dulled. If one is always exposed to words, many words, heavy words, one is dull, and the words have no more effect. People aren't aware that they're even listening to background noise and words. It has to be on. They're handicapped, psychologically damaged. Add to that a person who can't bear the absence of communication with the outside, for instance, by opening immediately what's in his pocket, whatever the form of the phone might be, again is damaged. He doesn't realize that he's not in maximum reception mode, because every message coming in has to be answered, there's output going on immediately. And it's a way of being which amounts to continuous, addictive dependence on input and communication, without communication within. But there is more. Even in a normal conversation, one can see who is receptive and who isn't. I think each one here will know the difference between a genuine dialogue and an encounter with somebody who's always giving off and actually not waiting for an answer. It's just not a communication at all. one is but an audience, in that case, to someone else. One is exercising a ministry of mercy for that person suffering. But we don't really need to be there, actually. It could be someone else. And many a conversation on the phone boils down to that. One is not saying an awful lot. One is, in a way, being patient and compassionate with the person who needs to talk. But probably that person is not able to receive much in depth. He's got so used to giving off. So are these people going to be the kind of people who can pick up the slightest vibe? Probably not, because there's a whole cloud coming out of them all the time. Rather like the barrage the Brits used to have to protect London during the Blitz in the war. All kinds of things in the air, barrage balloons and whatnot, to stop anything coming in. We can be barrage balloons all the time. And by the way, a person who's like that will be content until death with the volume of knowledge once acquired. Empty vessels make most noise. So the secret is there, and I leave it with you. We can participate in the gift of knowledge by a simple trick. Cease to be, and let the word come at you and be picked up.